Hi guys, so today we're going to replace the fuel filter in my 91 NSX. The manual states to replace this every 4 years or 60,000 miles. So here's the part number. This is for 91. If it's different for the other years of the first gen, I'll put it in the part number in the comments. But this part number is a full set. So it includes the filter as well as the 5 washers you see here. And so overview of what we're going to do, it should be pretty straightforward. The hardest part is just going to be accessing it because it's kind of hard to reach location. But as far as the 5 washers go, here's, the first washer is below the service bolt, and then the other 2 washers sandwich the Banjo bolt on one side, and then the remaining 2 washers sandwich the other Banjo bolt. So that's 5 washers total. So the fuel filter is in a hard to reach location because it's behind this brace right here. So the hardest part is to access these. Break them loose is what I've read is really hard. I do obviously have impact wrenches, impact tools that can take this off easily. But I'm gonna try to do this with hand tools since most of you will be trying this with just hand tools. Again, the hardest part is going to be breaking it loose. People say just because it's being held in by like a rubber bushing that it has give. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the tools that you need to get this done. So we're going to do a quick review of what's required. So these pieces right here on top of the fuel filter are 19 millimeter. And the top service bolt, which you would use to relieve fuel pressure, is a 12 millimeter, and the 2 bolts for the top of the Banjo bolts, the larger ones, this second one and this top one on the right side, those are 17 millimeter. So I do have some stubby 19, 17, and a 12 millimeter socket. So we're going to see if that works. So the first thing you want to do is relieve fuel pressure. So there's 2 different size bolt heads here, as you can see. The first one is the 12 millimeter, and that's what you're going to use to relieve fuel pressure. So you want to crack that 1 full turn, and of course you want to put a rag underneath here to catch any little bit of fuel that's going to leak out. So crack this 12 millimeter bolt 1 full turn, and also undo the fuel filler cap to relieve pressure. As you can see, I have a rag underneath to catch any fuel. So I'm going to try to crack this 12 millimeter again. Okay, that's loose now. And do about 1 full turn. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to crack this 17 mil now. If I cannot do that the same way I just did the service bolt, then I'm gonna have to try to put a 19 wrench on the bottom to try to hold it. It was turning, so I need to put a wrench on the bottom. So there is a 10 millimeter bolt holding this bracket in place on only one side of the filter. The other side is held in by a tab. So I'm going to try to undo that first so I can pull the filter out and get a wrench, 19 millimeter wrench on the top of the fuel filter. So again guys, I'm going to go around here so you'll see that this 10 millimeter bolt right here is the one I want to undo to release the bracket holding the fuel filter in. So the bolt is out, and here's the bracket. Okay guys, I think my fuel filter is not OEM. So I wanted to hold the top of the filter with a 19 millimeter, but it's not fitting. So I'm gonna have to use a gun. But I'm gonna show you guys how to do it with a wrench when putting it on. Okay guys, so again, I think my fuel filter is aftermarket, so the 19 mil wrench is not fitting on the bottom. So I'm going to gun these off. I'm going to show you how to do it with a wrench, with hand tools, installing it. feels leaking out a little bit. Got my towel ready. Obviously you want to do this in a well ventilated environment. So I got the washer on the bottom. And the Banjo bolt with the washer on top. Alright, so I'm gonna undo the other Banjo bolt. Here's the other Banjo bolt. You can see the washer. Grab the washer out. The other Banjo bolt with the washer. You want to make sure you count for all the washers. So just shake these off a little bit. There's going to be fuel in the filter, so don't flip it. Okay, so I accidentally didn't catch it on film, but I snuck the fuel filter out this way. So I'm going to empty this out and see what it looks like. There's quite a bit of fuel in there. Not the dirtiest, but probably not the cleanest. So here's a look at the brand new OEM on the left and what I removed out of my vehicle on the right. I'm not sure if this is OEM and it's just an older model or if it's an aftermarket unit, but you can tell that the arrows are different. So where OEM is 19 millimeter on here, this one is not. I think this is about a 21 millimeter or so. I put a 22 millimeter wrench on here and it's kind of loose. So that's why I had to use an impact wrench, a gun, to remove the bolts. I couldn't get something on the bottom of this to hold it. So for you guys, if you have OEM unit in here, a 19 mil should be able to hold the bottom, and then you should be able to put a 17 on the Banjo bolts on top and then crack it loose, hopefully. You know, use like a method like this while it's in the car, and then crack it like that. Having stubbies will probably help. So really quick, here's a look at the Banjo bolts. So you need to replace these washers every time you crack them loose. As you can see, these are pretty deformed. You can see shoulders on them. So I believe these are all the same size washers. Yep. And again, they give you all the washers along with a small one for the top of the service bolt, so don't forget to replace that one. Let's go ahead and do that right now. So tighten this one on. And this top service bolt is 9 foot-pounds. These other Banjo bolts are 20 foot-pounds each. So 20 foot-pounds on the 17 millimeters and 9 foot-pounds on the 12 millimeter bolt head. So then we'll throw the washer on here, throw a new washer on here, and then the other two go on the bottom side of the Banjo bolt. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw this guy in here. Drop it in here like so. Alright guys, so I have the bolt with the washer on one side. So I'm going to drop it in that Banjo bolt right there. Like that. And then I'm going to put the washer on the bottom side. Alright, so one side is in. And get the other side in. So I got the bolt with the washer. I'm going to drop it into the Banjo like so. And then don't forget the washer on the bottom. So put it on like that. And then just drop it on like that. Thread it in. Like that. And now you're ready to tighten it up. So it does look like I can get a torque wrench in here. So I have my 19 stubby wrench on this side holding the fuel filter, and I have my torque wrench set at 20 foot-pounds with a 17 millimeter deep socket on this side. All right, that's one. For this one, I have the wrench on the front side. All right, that worked out very nicely. So you can see how the way I was holding it, I had to put my thumb on the hose in order to keep the wrench going that way, and then I just torque the top. So this top one is 9 foot-pounds and a 12 millimeter. All right, so we're gonna torque the service bolt at the top to 9 foot-pounds. All right, so now that we got all these torques, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rag. We just need to put the bracket back in, which probably easier said than done. Okay, and good thing to note too is you see these tabs right here. The lip of the fuel filter fits right in underneath that, as you can see right there. All right, another shot at the bracket. So we're gonna have to hook this right side in first, and then bolt in the left side. So I apologize for not being able to show you how I got that bracket in, but essentially I had to put my arm down in this section and you wouldn't have been able to see it anyway. So I had to put my arm down in here, fish the tip of that bracket into the hole, and then now I'm holding the bracket with my left hand. I'm getting ready to put the bolt in. So I know you can hardly see this, guys, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw this bolt in here. I know that the hard line is blocking your view, but this is the best I can do right now. Don't forget to tighten back up your fuel cap. So there we are, guys, installed OEM fuel filter. So the hardest parts would be, for anyone, would be to get these nuts, those bolts off, if you don't have an impact wrench, which is impact gun. And so if you don't have that, I would recommend these Tecton 19 millimeter stubbies. I mean, you should get these anyway so you could torque it on correctly, but I mean, you could just gun it on if you just had a gun anyway. But this was clutch. You also need to make sure that if you buy a different brand, that this thickness of the wrench fits underneath the flange of the fuel filter and the top half of the fuel filter. So this fits perfectly from Tecton. And the other hardest part was getting this bolt in the back lined up, and so just because of this hard line is right in the way. So all in all, not too bad. This was my first time. It took me about an hour just trying to film and figure out the best way to do everything, but I'm glad I was able to torque everything on. That was a relief. So if you have any questions or comments, leave it down below. Appreciate you watching. Thank you.